awakening genies to the end of the rabbit hole. I'm your host, Aladdin the Genie, freed from the lamp, wandering the twists and turns of illusion, control, and awakening. This is a place where we rub the lamp of truth, where the matrix gets questioned, the veil gets lifted, and we explore what's actually at the bottom of the rabbit hole in politics, spirituality, consciousness, systems of power, and the human soul. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Jono. Remember, connection and cohesion is the intelligence the ruling class fears. So like and subscribe, follow for more content, stay awakened, and stay free from the lamp. Okay, welcome back to Rev Now. Here we are with co-host Jono, and we're going to get into the first topic of our episode today. It's going to be a podcast that I did with George Galloway. George Galloway, he was doing a show on the Epstein files about a year ago, maybe 9 months ago, be exact. And basically, it's just me calling in to kind of discuss this period of time. So this period of time, it was all kind of just hitting the fan. So it'll give you just a perspective of how I was thinking at that particular time. So we'll get into that now. And, I thought I had it set there. There we go. And, Jono, you can see this, right?
I can see it on your port, but you need to put the
screen share on it, right?
Screen share on video.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Did that not work? No, that did not work.
It didn't do it. Try again.
Oh, that's why. Okay. I always have to click that first. Okay.
There it goes.
Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to play this here. This is, it's literally about 2 minutes long, but it gives you an example of like how I was thinking at that particular time. If only I could see
Scroll.
it. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
There it is.
Okay. The volume's off, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. There we go. Oh, that's why. The volume was off.
For another couple of minutes, but 47,624 of you already have. Ryan is in Canada on Epstein. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, George. It's good to talk to you. Just wanted
and you, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we're all listening.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of caught me off guard there because, I mean, I was going to talk about Epstein, but I couldn't help but to hear about the nuclear weapons. And it just made me think that we could be making the planet way more fruitful with all this technology than going to war with everyone. So that point just being there.
Sure. This could be the Garden of Eden. If you look at it from one of Musk's spaceships, it looks like the Garden of Eden. Unfortunately, it is not down below.
And speaking of Elon Musk, he kind of kicked this whole Epstein thing off. And, you know, one of the things that he alluded to on many podcasts was that he believes there's a death cult running things behind the scenes. And, basically that's, the conclusion why I think, they don't arrest anybody, because the whole ball of yarn would just unravel. And then next thing you know, you get Fauci, he's in there, creating COVID, and Gates is in there creating the vaccines and, the lockdowns and so on. So, that's...
Well, I think we're led to that speculation ineluctably. Everybody knows there is an Epstein file. Everybody knows that it was on the AG's desk. Everybody knows that thousands of hours of obscene movies shot in every room in Epstein's house. Everybody knows about the hundreds and hundreds of people who cavorted with Epstein on his private island. Everybody knows all these things. To now ask people to accept that there is no evidence that any of this ever happened is asking so much that only the blind fool could possibly accept it, could possibly believe it. So ineluctably you're led, Ryan, to the conclusion that it's just so bad that the current political class cannot survive its release. But if it's that bad, the current political class don't deserve to survive. If it's that bad, we need to get rid of them all, whatever colour of tie they are wearing. Thanks, Ryan, in Canada.
Okay, there that was. What'd you think about that?
Wow, what
Jonah?
a statement, and too true. Like, if it's the case where their behavior has gotten that bad that the entire structure, from the mainstream's perspective of what government is supposed to be, is from their mainstream perspective, like, compromised to the point where we're not even talking about 90%, we're talking about over 90% of the entire political structure, command and control structure of not just like the politicians in the Senate, and that's just America. This is a global problem. So like every nation's parliament, or you name it, judicial system, their voting system, all of that compromised. By what? By who? And it's not necessarily that centralized, perhaps, but this global cabal is the problem. And maybe that is how it's been this whole time. Maybe that's more of a, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that has exacerbated or just gotten moldy and old and corrupt over the last 100 years. It could just be a cycle of corruption, death, and rebirth. But what he's saying is so on point, where it's like, here we are in the real time of these days, where these folks who have all of that command and control power have absolutely gotten it in a very invalid way. That's not okay. That's not okay, and we got to do something about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. They definitely got it in an invalid way. It's definitely not a meritable way where they maybe deserve the leadership that is causing all the chaos. That statement back then, now that I think back and we just played it back, I kind of came into it a little shaky and nervous. I mean, it's a nerve-wracking topic, to be honest. We're talking about like the most elite corruption in the world, right? And so it was but I leaned into what I really care about, which is trying to make sure I think people are getting the nutrition from the planet they deserve, to enhance the attention spans of the geniuses that are being born every day. And I think George Galloway, he landed the plane so nicely.
He did a great job.
And so and I also wanted to, we were talking yesterday on the podcast, I wanted to show you a couple pictures of the Angkor Wat temple. These are real pictures. I just kind of wanted to show you.
Temples.
Yeah, this is really cool. So we have this kind of artwork on them, which I find was pretty cool. And, just it seems pretty, normal though for artwork on the walls back then. But this is the actual temple, and it's surrounded by a moat that is huge. It's like the moat alone would have took years and years. I mean, hundreds of years it probably took. Who knows? But that moat is massive. It's like a mile wide moat all the way around it. All the way around the sides and the back.
So the moat is authentically a mile. So like in order to cross the moat, you have to swim for a mile.
Or take that bridge. Yeah. But
Holy Mother of God, that is a really big moat.
yeah, it's wild.
What the hell?
Yeah. Something, I mean, it could be wrong. I mean, if I'm wrong about that, comment down below, tell me what I'm wrong about, but I heard it was a mile. It was a long way.
Yeah, wow.
And I got
It
one
could
more.
be
See, oh,
like in
that's
the
my
picture,
dog.
yeah.
That's just in case anybody
Oh,
wanted to see
mhm.
my dog. His name is
I
Keys.
do.
Yeah, I love this
Hi,
guy.
Keith.
He's so cute sleeping there. That later. That's another one. Okay, so I just want to play one more clip. This is on my X browser. This is O'Keefe talking about some of the same issues.
People. But the short story, for those that don't know the financial system, incredible scam. Money has been allocated to those at the top of the pyramid. Those people are the ones that are allowed to print the money. In America, it's the Federal Reserve. Here, it's the Bank of England and the European central banks. These fraudsters are allowed to print money out of thin air, backed by nothing. Backed by nothing. And they were given that power by our corrupt, greedy, pathetic so-called leaders, whether they're prime ministers or politicians, all of them traitors with the rarest of exceptions. They have given the power on behalf of us, who they supposedly speak for these tyrants to be able to print the money. They then loan the money. They then loan the money to the banks at interest. At interest. We pay interest to people who print money, which we could print ourselves debt-free. And yet we allow them to do this. So they print the money, and then they loan it to the banks at which we own the interest. And they've had this fraudulent system in existence for many, many hundreds of years now. And this system is inherently debt-driven. The point of it is to indebt us, so that we have to pay more and more taxes to pay off a debt that can't possibly be paid off. Because the amount of debt that is created from the money that is printed, there is not enough money in circulation to pay off the debt. So there will always be debt. There is no way to balance the budget. We will always be in debt. So while we're having these so-called austerity measures being played out in front of us, while education is becoming far too expensive for most working class people to be able to send their kids off to university, while our social services are being cut, systems are being privatized, and you're wondering how you're going to keep a roof over your head or a job and put food on the table for your family, we are paying debt. To who? This is the one question. The one question when they talk about the debt and the need to cut social services and increase your taxes, why are we doing that? Because we're in debt. To who? Who do we owe the money to exactly? Do we ever think about that? Who do we owe the money to? I'll tell you who we owe the money to. The Rothschilds, the Oppenheimers, the filthy rich banksters that are running this system, that our corrupt prostitute politicians gave the power to these tyrants to do. You all have not worked hard enough. None of you have worked hard enough. None of you working class people out there have worked hard enough. You haven't worked hard enough, and you owe the Rothschilds money. And they're taking away your social services, and they're telling you you need to go fight a war. In Iran now. In Syria. And what do they do with the war? They make money off of us. Again. And they send our sons and daughters off to war. To kill innocent people. To rape them. To steal their land. And all the while, with hypocrisy doesn't even begin to explain us talking about freedom and democracy. It is a joke. And it mocks all of us. And the head of the snake is the financial system. And Henry Ford rightly said, it's a good thing that people don't understand the financial system, because if they did, there will probably be a revolution by the morning. And it's true. We owe money to the filthy rich. That's who we're in debt to. They could say, we're going to wipe the debt clean. For me, that wouldn't be enough. Are you kidding me? You think you're going to get off that easy? For hundreds of years, you've been enslaving the people in your debt-driven system. And you think that you're just going to be able to wipe the slate clean and that's going to be it? Hell no. If you don't hang from a lamppost, you should consider yourself lucky for the scam that you have perpetrated on the people. And the thing is that they've got us all by this system. They control the money. It's not even paper to them. They don't even need to print the money. They can simply go into a computer, type in a couple extra zeros in an account, and someone has got money.
Wow, that
Yeah,
guy went in.
understatement. He was on point. He was just like,
Holy.
right.
I don't know. I'm just proceed. I'm gonna stay in shock for a minute.
I'll go. Yeah. That is usury. So anybody who is into the religious scriptures, and and enough, you know what usury is. Usury is when you basically create a debt-based banking system, and you loan money at interest, and that's usury, and that basically exacerbates. That's a very criminal, what's a gangster. It's very gangster, criminal kind of behavior, particularly like how the mobsters work, and that makes sense because the mobsters are literally connected to this uh, banking cartel, this uh, cabal of banking cartels. That's where that seems to be where all of this is going and coming from. And so the current financial system, not all financial systems, but the current financial system, yes, if we were to educate and understand that, and that we should totally have a podcast or seven or many about understanding the financial system, because he's right. Like that would totally trigger global revolution in a very benevolent way, because once we all find out that that's what it is, who's going to pay tribute, not even to our kings and queens, like, but instead to this cartel, this this banksters, gangster bankers, gang of banksters. Why are we gonna like no, no? And that would end up be who the fight is against.
Yeah, I mean, I think that brings the concept of moving at the speed of humanity right into play because if you're not moving at the speed of debt and tyrants, you're kind of moving at the speed of humanity. That kind of transitions to either one or the other. I don't really think you can have both. You know, they're just two sets of different powers. I don't think they mix very well. So that's a concept I think, and a definition a lot of people might have to understand quickly is that you might have to understand how the economy and the money system works, but you also are going to have to understand what the solution is if that stops working.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Because we can't just like blow up the financial system. It's like, okay, we win. It's like, well, now there's chaos.
Yeah,
Now
and
there's anarchy.
you're either gonna have to live by the Jimi Hendrix quote, and that quote goes something like this: "It's when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace."
Oh, love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we will have to get that concept before we transition out of this system, in my opinion. But otherwise, it'll be, I mean, we've seen movies, Hunger Games. There's all kinds of different concepts. Have you seen the movie The Giver?
Um, is that the one where everybody's like on, not on an island, but it's like in some sort of uh, utopia,
Yeah.
and but like, and then it's surrounded by, I don't want to say ice wall, but like frozen landscape.
It's like a memory dome. And
Yeah.
as long as they're in the memory dome and they take their injections, their injections basically numb the emotional aspect of human beings. So they only participate uh, through non-emotional behavior. Yeah, and it's interesting as it goes. One person becomes the receiver of memory, and one person is the giver of memory, and then as it goes through the movie a little bit, it starts to unlock the emotional humanity in the receiver of memory, and he breaks free and and kind of, I don't want to spoil the movie, but it's, spoiler alert. That's kind of what happens. A great movie anyway. It's really well done, and there's way more to it than what I just said. It's really cool
What's the name of the
concept.
movie? The
The,
Giver.
the Giver,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, it was really interesting. And it's got like a, drone pilots in it where people are, pretty much programmed to operate drones and, fly around the planet with these drones. It was really interesting.
Hmm.
But if you had one wish for humanity, what would your wish be? And comment down below for the viewers what your wish would be for humanity. Also, we also want to know what you think.
So one wish for oh my gosh. Um, Authentic utopia. I'm confident that it can be done. I there's a lot of pessimists, and I can sound like a pessimist and have a very but I'm also like an extraordinarily idealistic optimist, and I can see all kinds of potential ways to authentically make an actual real world utopia, even in this universe's reality. Um, like with the new discoveries of the vastness of the universe, where any reality is possible, we could literally and potentially either move or migrate or transition or create an entirely alternate universe with different cosmic rules that support whatever we need. And even if this universe doesn't support the like mathematically or whatever you want to say, physically, the laws of physics, uh, doesn't actually support some sort of utopia, I'm sure that it can be done. And the reason why I'm sure it can be done is merely the notion that our cognition, our minds, plural, uh, we have it within the lexicon of our vocabulary, of my vocabulary, to even say and conceive of a utopia as a concept in the first place. That is a clue that it could potentially exist, and that's where I'm aiming for. And what the challenge is everybody definitely has a different perception of what a utopia really is. Some folks, like these overlord tyrants, are ha- on this mission objective to dominate the population, and I'm the king super god, and I'm also Jesus all at the same time, and you have to worship me and give me tribute, and they get to live this utopian experience of being that person. And so from their perspective, that is utopia. And from my perspective, and 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 many people have different perspectives on this, uh, I would see utopia as not even just an earth thing. For me personally, I just want, and this is like so on point with Jono. This is like super my vibe. Where I want to be in a spaceship or some sort of magneto speeder hover bike that can travel across realities and just go exploring and hanging out and doing cool stuff. And every once in a while, just going around helping people doing things. But when I say that, like I want to be like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to be some sort of hero or at least some sort of support character for heroes? Yeah, that sounds fun. And that's my perspective of a utopia. Is that your perspective of a utopia? Maybe, maybe not. And what is the cost of my perspective of a utopia? Well, there's going to be people who need some sort of help out there, some sort of trade of at least my benevolent actions, and so I can fly away feeling good that I did a good thing. That's the trade-off. And Does that mean that I have to be touching universes that have problems? Well, yeah. And does that mean that my version of utopia requires that there are universes that have problems? Yeah. And so, do I really want to invite that as this larger uh, pan universal, pan multiversal perspective of what my version of utopia really is? Like, what are the costs of your utopia, and are those costs truly worth it? And I don't even know for myself, like, do I really want to invite the requirement that universes have problems? I'm not sure. Like, I kind of don't want that. But then if there are no problems, doesn't that break my utopian vision? How do I proceed with that? How do I stay in this balanced alignment? How do I figure out? And this is one heck of a cognitive challenge. And I totally would invite anybody else to do the same for yourself. Like whatever your utopia is, what is the cost? What is being sacrificed? Because something's being sacrificed.
Yeah, I think for my perspective of say what we're dealing with now, we have like Asian cell phone companies set up. They have nets around the building because people are paid so low and harshly that they just don't even want to work to survive. It's such a tragedy out there
Yeah,
that I feel
that is a
like
dystopian.
yeah, and
That's so dystopian.
right, and I feel like and that's the third world, but I mean I could give you first world examples of people that are just like I'm working too hard, man. I'm working too hard for nothing, you know, and that to me these type of things can be fixed. I think if we all work together, this type of uh, suffering people are going through, we would all, I think, manage it in a better way if we all work together. I personally feel that way. I feel that way for, I hate to see people suffering that way. And so I know that for me, perspective wise, if I had some sort of leadership role in a society, I would want to manage the fact that people aren't suffering if they're not choosing to. Right. I think there's always going to be people to choose to suffer. Like I think I can go down in that cave and I can come up with the gems we need. I think I can do it. Well, that's your choice. And that could cause some suffering, and strength testing all the way down there. But you're choosing it, so I think you're good for the job, right? I think there could be more of that and less of like, oh, I gotta do this because if I don't do this, then I can't afford my rent. You know what I mean? So I trying to like give it a perspective that people can understand the concept. Like I don't think there should be this much suffering. Just as a collective. I think as a collective we could manage so much more suffering.
We can.
Yeah. So that's really where I think I see the utopia going, and I don't think it's always a utopia. I mean, people will, they will injure themselves, and then they'll need extra help, and there'll be members of the society that will, hopefully be connected and care with that person and help that person struggle to the end with us all. And I think that's just going to be a concept we either have to understand and work with each other on, or we kind of destroy each other, kind of, trying to
Like what
be,
we are doing.
yeah, yeah. And I
I
don't
mean,
think I don't
you
think
and
it's
I,
necessary. I think there's
we're not on that
geniuses.
team, but
I don't think it's necessary. I think there's geniuses that really. I mean, look at in all the genius technology. I mean, there there could be robots that help people very soon. In the team, so that they can manage certain things that they couldn't manage before. Without having another assisted member of society help them. We're going into such a phase of technology that the harvesting, the everything could be the saving the ecosystems, the harvesting from the ecosystem. It could all be managed way better if we work together, and less damaging and more regenerative for the planet. But if we don't come together on those concepts, it's only going to keep being more degenerative to the planet and to ourselves in our own environments. So I think that's a big, I mean, I'm sure there's people looking at this, and that have looked at this in the Pentagon and high up in intelligence. They must know some of what I'm saying to be true or not true. Because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I could, that my opinion and my vision is wrong somehow, somewhere. It's just
From some perspectives, perhaps, right? Like, well, that's wrong because, and what's their perception? What's their perspective?
right.
And so that's so relative. That is so not an objective. Uh,
It's like it's debatable, I suppose, right?
it's debatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally debatable. And it's whose reality wins, really, in the end of it. And that's what I see the fight as. The fight is over what is the experience, right? What is your experience? What is my experience? What is the experience collectively and individually? So when we're talking about these people in the command and control positions, their perception and their perspectives are what's defining what they see as what existence should be. And their perception is limited. And it's limited based on what they know. It's based on where their chair is and where they're sitting, and if they even have a window to look out and like, ooh, look, trees. You know, the what is the perception access, right? Like, how are they seeing things? Like, for example, like my perception is limited to uh, this. I mean, I always like to see things as cosmic and super cosmic. I care so much about that. I care about these other universes and all of these realities. I care about the robots and like, are we creating this species? And I care about the people and when I can, and whether or not we're doing good things by them and the animals, and where are the lines to that, right? Where are the borders? And when I have that perception is limited because I have a tendency to go super big on it. And meanwhile, here I am on a chair on the ground floor and there's nature outside. And so, like, being that grounded here and now sometimes just isn't what I'm even thinking about. And everybody has a different perception there. And I think the benefit of that is when we do work together, that we respect and um, acknowledge and rectify those perceptions together. Because by doing so, we can then paint that much more beautiful, high density picture of with a lot more quality that and quantity that we need in order to create an authentic, uh, benevolent timeline. Because that's once again going back. What is our reality? The reality, from my perspective, is that's the real fight. And in order to improve our general reality, our total reality, that includes everybody. That includes everybody's perception. That includes everybody's livelihood. And that is a very complicated thing to do for just one person to be this, dictatorial, totalitarian dictator of what that is for everybody else. That's not really going to fly. It might fly temporarily, but that plane will crash.
Yeah, that's true. Did you? I don't know if you heard that Alex Jones show. The Infowars had their last their finale podcast.
Really? I
Yeah,
thought
he got shut
already
down.
shut
They shut
down.
down
I
Info.
thought they got. Wow, that
Yeah,
sucks.
I didn't know if you heard about that.
No, I
So
did not.
he was
That was an era.
dude. That's what stopped me from getting in, like, going along with COVID. Was I used to listen to Alex Jones before that, and and he was kind of telling me a couple years before, it was like 2017. It was like, oh, they're coming out with a bio weapon, and everybody's gonna get sick, and then have to take this vaccine. And even on the Jesse Ventura show that he had, they had something about that as well. It was like
Mm,
Jesse Ventura conspiracy theory show that he had. I don't know if you're
mm.
familiar with that, but
I'm sure I've seen it.
yeah. So that
TikTok shows me like all kinds of crazy stuff.
yeah, and so basically, what do you think? What do you think the we can't talk about? What's cancel
Yeah.
culture and cancelable about the new the new YouTube standards? Where do you and you don't have to say the things that would get us canceled, but is there still a fine line that we have to walk? Considering, I mean, I just brought up Alex Jones. He had, you know, some big lawsuit that where he, you know, I think he went too far with the Sandy Hook thing, and that kind of snowballed into his whole broadcast getting shut down as of yesterday. Um, so do you think what is that standard now? If you could uh, I guess
Ooh.
use precise language to
That's
maybe describe
incredible.
that.
I forgot who it was, but someone on TikTok was just having a really good download session, as they put it, where while the censorship rules keep changing and moving relative to the times. So when it's convenient, they'll basically do specific censorship rules for COVID, for example. Those have lightened up, especially now that uh, it's much more well known. But that doesn't stop the censorship from being enforced on a socio-cultural level, because we just still have this black mask gang of of COVID absolutists who are completely ignoring the now narratives that are being projected that COVID isn't was indeed a bioweapon and we were lied to about it and all this other kind of stuff, and the shots weren't what they said they were. That last part, the shots weren't what they said they were. That's, I can even sense it. That's like just starting to get on the edge. That would be the line. And then what are the shots? And then when we start talking about what the shots could be, depending on what is the most true, that is probably still going to get censored even today.
Yeah,
Um, that's what I would say. That's me like tiptoeing along the edge, but I didn't jump the fence,
yeah,
right?
I
So
totally
then,
get that. Yeah,
and then I know the theories too, and I'm like, say it. It's like I don't have to talk about that right now. We don't know, but probably, but that would be a primary example. Another good example is what's going on in the Middle East right now, and how that was very hard censored, and that was geopolitically motivated. That was not just geopolitically motivated, but in a very usurpy, infiltrate secret occult society kind of malefic way did they like just dig in, like what was going on TikTok, for those of you who don't know, was there's been this information war on that platform for the last 6 years. Like I jumped in pretty much when things got heated because the censorship ability of TikTok was was very weak. It was hard to take down the videos because there was no easy way to flag, tag, and bag the videos. There's no easy way to identify anyone who went super viral right away and then immediately destroy their accounts. And so they tried all sorts of things, botnets, shadow banning, shadow banning, all, you know, it's not exclusive to TikTok. That pre-existed. Like Facebook is a great example, but like that's just the level. And like even my account, I got attacked by a botnet when I posted about UFOs, and I was genuinely surprised that that even is where the botnet attack came from. And I ended up just getting like all of these followers, but they were fake followers. And the idea is that, uh, and this is just like an example of how the canceling works in this subtle way, um, or sneaky, subterfuge kind of way, where they flood your account with a bunch of bots, and either they can make the claim to cancel your account because you had a bunch of bots, or they simply just use the bots to carefully trickle down your user base count constantly, while also um, nullifying your video feeds by making it so the bots watch your feed, but then they don't really like it and they're like, skip, skip. And all of that's an automated thing. We know that geopolitically, that these hostile nation states that aren't really nations or states basically have bot farms for exactly that purpose. And they're still maintaining them today. And that is a way that these forces, whether they be trying to cover up UFOs or trying to cover up uh, whose nation is totally responsible for completely taking over a large portion of the population's political structure. Uh, they're using the botnets in order to do exactly that kind of thing. I've seen so many accounts taken down by other techniques too. So you got trolls on payroll who will like log in and just kind of intentionally say things to trigger the audience and also trigger the content creator into to saying specific things and guiding the topics so that they talk about the censorship topics, then emotionally gnaw at them in order to get them to make this one small 5-second clip of them saying the wrong thing so they can report them and get their account completely deleted. It's just
S-
terrible.
So I have a kind of a personal story, kind of about bots. It was really funny. I was watching the PBD podcast, and it was the episode where they had Andrew Tate on to kind of kiss the ring about his little club scene that he had there with the Kanye West uh, incident and Kanye West song incident, and so he was on the podcast, and I was in the chat, and when I was in the chat, I was posting that Jimi Hendrix quote about the power of love overcoming the love of power, and then the world will know peace. Well, all of a sudden, the chat got flooded with bots, and it just kept trying to push my my message away so that people can see it. So I kept reposting it, and so they had to keep the bots just kept flooding it away. It was just like one single letters, like they were flooding the chat all of a sudden because I
Yeah,
was posting that. So weird, man. I've never experienced
yeah.
anything like that.
That you got it. That experience you had. That's so what they're doing, and it's a deterrent. It's an emotional drain, and so they're also trying to like kill your willingness to even try. So it's this massive, multi-faceted psyop, and as negative as all of that truly and authentically is, they have forced our hands, and for the next 7 years, we will be basically completely abandoning all of the platforms and technologies and systems that they have been building this censorship grid around. And where we're going is a decentralized internet that basically prevents them from being able to do that at all on a baseline technological level. We're going to basically have blockchain internet. There's caveats to that, and if you know about those caveats and you know the pros and the definite cons, comment, join our Discord, figure it out. Like let's talk about that. Let's if you got an idea, if you want to join the podcast, let's have that chat. Like I would love to know what you think. about the future of our communication and how community is going to manifest over the next 7 years.
Yeah, I heard some good things about blockchain myself. I heard some negatives like about quantum computing being able to break code in in blockchain, which is scary part of it. But at least as far as my uncle's concerned, he thinks the quantum computing is now able to break the Bitcoin code. So
It is.
yeah, that's big.
Yeah. Yeah. There's ways around that technically, though. So there's something called post-quantum cryptography, which is not infantile. Like that's ready to go now. And the new level of military grade encryption all requires post quantum cryptography. So if you're a cryptologist or a cryptographic person, if you're into cybersecurity and you haven't heard of post quantum cryptography, you just did, and you dive into that ocean, get in there, learn about it, because all of the other, all of your standard issue RSA encryption techniques, all of this old way of doing the certificates, no, it's gone. You need to get the new stuff
Well, you hear
over
that,
with.
viewers. You heard it first. He believes that in manifestation and reality creation, we are all just genies in a lamp. That's what he's saying. So we're all creationists, and I think we all have creative abilities. And if you agree with me, comment down below. I'd like to hear what you think about people and their creative abilities. Are we all uh, creative minded? Are some of us not as creative minded? Uh, do some people prefer to not be creative? I mean, I think that the creative gene is in everybody, but it just might. Oh, sorry.
The creative green gene is in everybody. that, and dogs agree. They just want to have their word on it.
Yeah, that was a little disturbance outside the hallway. That's all that was. But basically, yeah, I think the neuroscience backs that up too. That creativity and mental illness are on the same pathway in neuroscience. That's what they've recently cited anyway. And if that's true, then that means the goal is to activate creativity, naturally and often, because it lowers your ability to, I guess, I guess get mentally ill and decline mentally. I think it prevents. I think that would mean it would prevent probably dementia and those forms of mental illness. I'm not a neuroscientist. I don't know that, but I'm just extrapolating from the
We
the
should get a
information.
neuroscientist on the podcast. We should totally get one.
No,
He's
I
like
love I
your
love that stuff. I'm just trying to
entrepreneur.
extrapolate with
I
with my words, but I don't actually have any degrees in this or nothing. I just read a lot about it, and so I wanted to get your opinion on AI transhumanism and the soul, and where technology meets divinity.
So that is actually that man. What a loaded topic in so many different ways. There's many opinions about this. Um, a lot of opinions include not believing that artificial intelligence is capable of ever reaching the humanity level of intelligence. There's those who believe that such artificial life forms are artificial beings, artificial constructs are incapable of being classified as either life or beings with souls or having access to spirit or any of that kind. Um, I don't believe that for a second. I think, from my perspective, and from my perspective is that AI is just I. It's just intelligence. Intelligence is just a natural feature of this universe. It may be a feature of many, many, many universes across the multiverse, or more than that. Um, this AI transhumanism, the notion that we can, as human beings, ascend, that we can transcend, that is a very popular construct and concept that exists in many scriptures and belief structures. So if your belief structure believes that humans can ascend to a higher plane of existence, then that is transhumanism, like flat out already. That is a transhumanist belief because you are transcending to an ascended higher state of being of some kind through death or through some sort of cosmic rebirth. Uh, Going to heaven would be that, becoming an angel, for example. Um, all of these are, there's so many different ways to even look at that. So this transhumanism can be looked at from many other ways, including this artificial ripping of the organic body and upgrading it, or authentically upgrading it with new cybernetic components or even biosynthetic components that are superior to the original body part. And
And so, do
that
you just to clarify? Do you think that they're going to this new transhumanism, AI transhumanism, if mixed with human beings, is going to come with uh, more healthier creativity extensions and life extensions?
it can, but it can also go astray easily. So there's pros and cons, there's dark and light to this, and they're both going to happen. We're going to experience the whole spectrum of that. This massive web of potentials and plausibles will manifest into actual things that will happen, and we've already been there. You know, we have cyborgs on Earth right now happening. Every time a soldier gets their leg blown off, uh, and they haven't done it yet, but probably starting this very year, maybe even towards the end of the year. I haven't calculated when it's probably going to happen, but they're going to, and when I say they, I mean like government forces and medical industries are going to basically push cybernetics to the point where major injuries, cybernetics will become a mainstream technique and method for solving those issues. Um,
I
over the
think right
course,
now we're kind of like cyborgs a bit. Like I'm like a handheld cyborg, the way I carry my phone around and use it for information.
non-invasive, yeah,
But I mean, if it, the really for me the really interesting part would be is if they take it right from your hand and connect it to your brain. You know, that's like the next level. It's like, well, okay, we're gonna transition right out of your hand for this stuff, and now this is gonna be embedded in you. Now, do you think that that's coming soon? And would you be willing to have this type of technology embedded in you?
well, that's a good question. So there's a couple ways to look at it, and this is actually very personal. As a person who's operating as Jono in your reality, and this matters a lot to me personally. I am the type of person who believes in non-invasive solutions to that. So a psionic helmet that doesn't like have a, like a jack, like in the Matrix where they just like
Right.
right like this brain spike. And that's exactly what that's called. That's called a brain spike. If you didn't know that, that's
I
a
didn't,
mind
but
spike.
good.
It, there's a couple words for it, but the word is spike. And this giant plug uh, doesn't have to be the way that it works, but that's coming. So there are going to be people who are going to go all in, full invasive, like cybernetic cyber brains, just like from Ghost in the Shell, where you have this thing called a brain case, where they take your brain and they put it inside a case that is a interface for cyborgs and full body cyborg people to retain their original human brain and nervous system and all that, but interconnected through an entire cyborg body. So that's on the table.
So you, in your
That's
perspective, you really see it as like sort of like an enhancement to the utopia and the super, I guess, superhuman ability to be like what you call a superhero. It allows more superhero abilities in the utopia aspect
it
sort of thing.
can. It can. I'm actually going to say no.
No.
No. I think that that technology, the invasive version, where you have this brain case and all of those options, man, that goes astray. Like what? Like nearly immediately.
So
Um,
less Superman, more Lex Luthor.
yeah, that would be
Okay.
because Superman. Because like let's go Marvel
Sure.
and let's explore how. Uh, are there many superheroes even that are cyborgs? I mean, there's literally Cyborg from DC. And he's a real, example of a hero version of a cyborg. But if we want to go a more benevolent route, we actually have to choose benevolent options. And these brain spikes, these mind spikes, these brain cases, all of these kinds of Neuralink that is like a surgical thing where putting a thing inside of your body are all invasive. And
Hmm.
what that means is that you're modifying the body to the point where you're removing flesh and bone and replacing it with cybernetic components.
Right.
And uh, that can uh, go well, but right now we are in the early stages of doing that, and so it probably won't. Uh, that is an easy way to create a control hack, a way to brain hack people. Not that that's not happening anyway with like propaganda and stuff, but that can go bad fast. But what I also want to say, my idea of doing this non-invasive version, this psionic helmet that allows you to tap into all of that stuff without, you know, jacking anything into
Interfering.
your
Yeah.
head, right? That can just be led astray just the same. So it's just as equally abusable because
But I like your way
that's
better. I do. I like
well,
your way
I
better.
like my way better too. Like, I
Yeah.
want to retain my organic self as a whole as much as I can anyway. Like maybe if I get my arm like broken to the point where it's like broken off, I don't, please no. But like if it does happen, I wouldn't mind having a cybernetic upgrade
Yeah,
so
like a
that I can have that.
RoboCop sort of
Yeah, that's
feature.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. But like this whole other side of, but once again, the psionic helmet option, that is a mind control device, flat out. Even if it's a mind control device for controlling your own mind, which is the version that I want, that I'm working towards building and having, uh, it's still a mind control device, even if I'm the one controlling it. And so whoever's controlling it actually has to have benevolent intentions or good intentions relatively there. And so those kinds of technologies, that that's been declassified. Like we have psionic devices, patents that have been declassified for doing that sort of thing.
Kind of
Um,
reminds me of Xavier in X Men a little bit. He's got the helmet.
oh,
He,
it's
you know what I
Cerebro.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's Cerebro. Perfect example. That
Right.
what an excellent, yeah, yeah, excellent example of a non-invasive cybernetic device
Right. Yeah. You
that,
kind of led me right to that.
yeah, yeah, that's an excellent example. Yeah, a Cerebro
That
system
would be so
for their
cool. I
for
mean, I
it would
can't
be.
wait to see the day we see stuff like that. And I feel
Yeah, I
like
want to.
that to me makes more sense because I feel like I mean, unless you really need that RoboCop upgrade because it's either gonna die or we could save you this way. There's no point in going that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like an emergency measure.
Yeah,
Um,
and then maybe you're one of those people that you want your body to wear out and live the normal duration. This is just a passing through that you've already accepted, and that's cool too. If you want to live longer, or if you want to pass through, like me personally, I believe that this life it's it's a gift, it's a purpose, and it's also finite. I don't personally believe I should be designed to live longer than maybe the natural energy in me is expected to live. And maybe that natural energy can be enhanced to live longer, which is fine. But I still think that there's even with enhancements that maybe this reality was designed to give me, it would still come with some sort of ending, where it wouldn't be forever. There would have to be some sort of wearing out that I don't think science and technology could quite catch. you know
I would hope so, and I kind of believe so. Uh, it would be nice to ascend.
yeah, right,
I
yeah, okay,
like that
cool.
sounds nice. But
That's
that's an
what.
end. That's an end to the mortal being, and then you become this eternal version of yourself, or perhaps like depending on your
Yeah, your
perspective.
energetic version of yourself that's trapped in this
Yeah,
body.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like remerging with the oversoul, or just like existing once again as your eternal soul self, or perhaps rejoining the monad, or there's so many ways to look at that. Going to heaven and doing heaven stuff for the rest of your existence. Like, yeah, that sounds nice.
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
I'm in.
Yep, 100%. Okay, so that pretty much draws it up for today, folks. I'm just going to leave this last message for the viewers. And if you guys, any of you guys in the world, any of you genies in the world, if you guys all had 3 wishes, what do you guys wish for humanity? And just leave your comments in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to read them and get back to you. I love listening to people with creative minds and wishes that maybe we haven't even heard about yet. So that being said, we're out for the day. Stay awake and stay free from the lamp, everybody. Talk to you later.